guys, it's Amanda, and it has been 5 years since my car accident, so I decided it was time for an update. So 5 years since my car accident also means 5 years since I've been on YouTube. If you weren't here at the beginning of my channel, that's kind of the whole reason why I had started, is I was home from work after my car accident, had a lot of free time that I couldn't use to do anything else, so I decided to start telling my story and doing some stuff on YouTube. I'll put it up here somewhere, but in case you didn't know, my car accident wasn't just like a little fender bender thing. It was a full-on, like, my car rolled over, I was ejected from the vehicle, whole sort of thing. I was in the hospital between hospital and rehab for a month. I was out of work for 6 months, and then I ended up finding out I had thyroid cancer, and it was just a whole lot. So, if you haven't heard about that, I'm not going to rehash everything in this video. Go check that video out. And I have a few other updates throughout. You can always check those out. Maybe I'll make like some sort of like playlist or something and link it at the end of this video. But anywho, I just thought that I would come on and share where I am at 5 years after that. So I think one of the biggest things is how I'm doing physically. So after that accident, I wasn't able to walk, and even when I was, it just wasn't 100%. My balance and the things I was able to do was severely limited. I had broken my wrist, and it was hard for me to use that hand. Even once I was able to, it definitely had a lot of strengthening up to do. I had that giant hematoma on my leg, which also made it hard to walk, and just was kind of embarrassing. I mean, I know it was nothing to be embarrassed of, but you know, it's hard because people don't know what's going on, so all they see is a giant bump on your leg and say, what the heck is that? So it was a lot, you know. And then I also had the thyroid cancer, which will be a whole nother video. I want to do an update on that as well. It's 5 years for a lot of things this year. But as far as like mobility, I can pretty much do anything now. It has taken a long time. I think a lot of it has been mental, and allowing myself to do things that I couldn't do for the longest time. Like, I know when we were going on hikes, I was always worried about like lifting my legs up on rocks and stuff. But this year in particular, well, 2020 in particular, when we were out hiking and stuff, I really tried to be conscious of pushing myself a little more, understanding that my body has more balance now, and working on increasing that, on like not necessarily relying on Jacob to like hold my hand as I'm going up. Like, obviously still cautious, but I've definitely come a long way. And this year in particularly, I really pushed myself, and I can do most things. I feel like I can run and climb up on things, and one thing is sitting on the floor and getting myself back up. It's all become a lot more natural again. But I think for the longest time, I was just so afraid to do anything, so I just did nothing. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to do it, and that was an obstacle in of itself, is just realizing that I couldn't do what I wanted to physically. Like I had talked about in that video, I had started working out every day before the accident, and I couldn't do those workouts. And I think the problem for me was that because I couldn't do those workouts, I just decided to do nothing. And I encourage you, if you're in this space of any physical impairment, like, don't feel like because you can't do what you would normally do, you can do nothing. Like, I guess during that, I could have been doing arm workouts, or I could have just done more of what I could do, more walks and stuff. And that's not to say you have to do anything physically, but if you're wanting to, don't let that you can't do what you would normally do completely debilitate you, because there, you know, any movement is good for your body. And that's something else that I've been trying to learn. Like, so even the things that I still don't necessarily feel comfortable doing, I just don't do those things for right now. I do the things that I do enjoy, like dancing or yoga or qigong and like a bunch of other things. Just learning that any movement is perfect as long as it's something I enjoy doing. And I know by the time that I made that video, I think I made it in September, so that was like 9 months after the accident, I was already able to do a lot of things. To this day, my wrist still hurts every now and then, but it's definitely not anywhere near where it was. Like, I can do things with my right hand just perfectly fine, which is great because I know when I was doing physical therapy, they were worried that I wouldn't even be able to do this with my hands. So it's nice to know that, you know, I proved them wrong and am able to do the things that I want to do, besides a little bit of pain and stiffness every now and then. If that's all I have to take away from it, that's great. I did videos on it, but my hematoma is gone. I'll put a picture over here of what it looked like and what my leg looks like now. I'm not gonna get on video and do that, but it's definitely not the same, so I'm still a little self-conscious about it sometimes, but it's such an improvement from that giant hematoma and so much better for me physically. Another thing I wanted to talk about was how it affected me financially, honestly. Right before that, just along with the exercising, we had actually also created like this financial plan. We were going to be saving up for this, that, and the other thing, and it just kind of all came crashing down. And I feel like while it still would have impacted us financially, a lot of it was not knowing and not really, it's just something that they don't teach in schools, and I feel like they should, like, no matter what the reason for your financial issues are. But obviously being out of work and having all those medical bills, which I had great insurance, thank goodness, but there was still a lot of medical bills, and rather than exploring my options, I feel like I felt very obligated to hurry up and pay everything back. I was paying things back on credit cards. I was paying more than I maybe needed to, because I didn't really fight for myself, I guess. And I didn't know that I could. I didn't know it was an option. I had really good credit at the time, so I probably could have got a loan. Like, there was a lot of options I could have done, and I guess I just didn't know, and maybe I was too stressed out to even figure it out. So I just feel like if you ever find yourself in those spots, make sure you're aware of all of your options and really advocate for yourself, and don't feel like you just have to put yourself in a hole. It's something, if I could go back, that's what I would do, but we worked our way through it. We're in a much better place now, and I'm excited to see what 2021 brings. Another thing I had been really worried about was like the trauma of the accident. I didn't know how I was gonna be once winter came again. Obviously, when I made the video, it was around September, so although I had been driving, I hadn't been back in the snow. I have driven in the snow since then, and I find that the only times that I get stressed out in the car are actually when other people are driving, even though that wasn't the circumstance. I just feel like I'm not in control, so I literally have no say in what happens in the car. So I think that stresses me out, but I actually don't have a lot of stress when I'm driving. I mean, in certain circumstances, but I've always been kind of a nervous driver, so that really isn't from the accident. But I have driven in the snow. I don't particularly love to, but I didn't before anyway, so that's not really something new. I also noticed that the other thing that actually brings me a lot of trauma is seeing other people that I know or on TV in the hospital or like on bed rest and stuff like that. That kind of triggers me into reminding me of what was going on and how I felt at the time. So I feel like the more traumatic part of that experience for me was actually being in the hospital rather than the car accident, which is weird. But other than that, I feel like I'm healed from that. Like, I had a lot of support, thank goodness, but I don't know, it never was really like super traumatic for me. I think it's just those certain memories that kind of get to me, and knowing that someone else is feeling that pain of not being able to do what they want to do. So I think that was where it really bothered me, is not being able to do that physical stuff and seeing other people go through that. But other than that, I don't really hold on to, or at least consciously hold on to, a lot of trauma from that. I did miss one thing in talking about the physical stuff. One thing that I still deal with is, if you notice in some of these videos, my eyes just gets very squinty, and That's just something that's happened since the accident. A few related things to that, I used to get a lot of tingles in my face, which doesn't happen as much anymore. They had said that had to do with my nerve endings, something, but either way, it was just very weird, and that affected that eye too. And I used to deal with migraines a lot, but I had taken medication for that for some time, and then I noticed it wasn't really like positively or negatively affecting me, so I tried to wean myself off it, and I haven't really dealt with migraines or that face thing as often. Every now and then it'll pop up, but it's been mostly normal. So now it's just the squinty eye when I'm tired or stressed or whatever, and now I have sleepies in my eye. So yeah. And the last thing I wanted to talk about that I learned through this experience was really to advocate for yourself. And I want to make a whole nother video on this, and I've talked about it before, but like, for example, one of the experiences when I was in the hospital was that I needed to be on blood thinners. Then I had to go back to the hospital for a blood transfusion, and they took me off the blood thinners. And then very shortly after, they were like, okay, here's a shot, this is blood thinners. And I was like, isn't that what put me here in the first place? And they couldn't explain to me why it was okay. And I'm not one to like second guess people, but they couldn't explain to me why it was okay now, and how I wasn't going to go through the same thing that I just went through. So I was scared, and they couldn't provide me answers. So I did not let them give me the blood thinners until eventually a doctor came down and told me, okay, this is why it's okay. And it was just like a lower dose, so it wasn't going to cause my blood to bleed into my leg or whatever it had done the first time. And it's just like, it's crazy to me that we're just expected to trust people. Like, obviously they have, degrees, but they should be able to explain to you as a person, like, especially when you're scared and just had a life or death experience, like, no, you're gonna be okay because it's a lower dose. Like, I don't know, it just was very problematic to me, and there have been a ton of other things that I've needed to advocate for since, and I know a lot of people deal with that, which is why I want to make another video on that eventually in the future, so be on the lookout for that. Needless to say, I've come a long way in 5 years, and I'm definitely happy with the progress I've made, and I'm happy that that's mostly just a memory. And I just am, like I said in my first video, I just realized that it helped me to know how strong I really am. And yeah, I would not want to necessarily go through that again, but in ways I'm glad I did, for finding out that I had thyroid cancer, for finding out how strong I can be, and for really it's just taught me a lot of life lessons. I feel it made me realize who was there for me in my life, and just reflecting back on it, it has been a part of my life that shaped who I am today. And I think that is what I would say. When you're struggling with things in your life, realize that it's going to help build who you will be in your future, who you're building who you are now. And if you can view it that way, even though you're going through something difficult, it can kind of be a sort of silver lining, or something that you can use to get your way through those experiences. So yeah, with that, that's my 5-year update. I look forward to making new videos for you guys, and thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I've been posting new videos every Monday, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.